The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
Whether she's walking the red carpet or doing interviews, you'll find her with celebrities and all the latest news. She's here, she's there, she's everywhere, she's always on the go. So sit back, relax, and get ready, 'cause it's the Corey Taylor Talks Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corey Taylor Talks, live from Las Vegas, the #1 teen talk show. I am here with the one and only Mr. Bill Moseley. He is just a phenomenal actor and just incredibly talented, and I can't even tell you guys how excited I am. So, hi, Bill, how are you?
I'm good.
Like I said, I really am excited. You have just quite the career. I mean, I just like even on your IMDb, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot he did all this. Just to give people a little fresh up, Repo, The Genetic Opera, The Devil's Rejects, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, House of a Thousand Corpses. I mean, and the list just goes on and on and on. And you just have more and more to come. So I have to ask, how is it having such a phenomenal career and being such a huge icon to so many different people?
You know, that and $1.25 will get you a cup of coffee at the corner donut shop. You know, I'm very grateful and happy that, you know, I'm not out spreading hot tar on a roof and, you know, some kind of Arizona subdivision. But, you know, I'm just I'm happy. I mean, it's good. I love horror movies. I love doing what I do. And occasionally get to make some music, which I love as well. Right now I'm here in Los Angeles pet sitting for my older daughter.
Oh.
So I've got like a little 5-month-old kind of terrier mix named Cooter sitting on the couch with me. So you hear any little barks and things, it's not my stomach, it's the little dog.
Well, good to know. No, that's awesome. So you're a man of many talents. You can also babysit dogs.
I can.
There you go. No, like I said, this is really bad, but since I was like literally 2, my mom has raised me on horror films. So I really adore you. And I think what's so cool is with a lot of horror films, unfortunately, they get a bad rep for being cheesy or corny, or the actors aren't the best, but you are truly just such a phenomenal actor, and you really get into your characters and stuff, and you play some crazy characters sometimes. How is it getting into character and developing them, and what's your process with that, and is it hard to do?
It really isn't. What I do is to I just read the script a bunch of times, usually 3 or 4 times through, just to get the general landscape of the movie, get the story, get the relationships, you know, who's who and who am I killing or who am I running from, and just generally, you know, get the general idea of it. That's what I try to do. And then I spend some time just kind of sitting with it. I guess I'd call it an open-eyed meditation. I try not to close my eyes or I'd fall asleep. But I just kind of think about it and, you know, and I just try to go there and, you know, and make it real. I think that's, you know, every actor owes that to their audience. And, you know, as long as you're consistent, you can really go anywhere and do anything. That's the fun part. For me, you know, I have, you know, 2 daughters. I'm a married man. So it's really good when I play especially crazy, violent, sick, and depraved characters that I leave that at work and don't bring that home with me.
Good.
So I guess I'm not exactly method. In other words, I don't become although, with Chop Top, I think I was Chop Top for about 8 weeks there in the summer of '86 back in Austin, Texas. But for instance, with Otis Driftwood, I'm driving back from the set for both, for all three, for House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and now Three from Hell. And you really don't want to bring Otis home to the family, because that can be, a little, it can be a little dangerous. So what I try to do is just remember that, when they say cut and that's a wrap for the day, just, leave Otis in the costume and the makeup and, try to drive friendly and get home, with a pretty decent attitude.
So I think that's really cool that you're such a family guy. Did you ever bring your kids on set and stuff, or did you kind of keep them away from that, or did you even raise them on your horror films and stuff?
Oh, they got raised on horror, absolutely. And my older daughter was on the set of. She's been on the set, I think, of all three of House of a Thousand Corpses. Can't really remember if she was or not, but definitely on Devil's Rejects. And she also, I think she must have come to House of a Thousand Corpses because I was with her and her little buddy. I think they were both 13 when I emceed a horror award show over at Universal Studios here in Los Angeles in Burbank, California. And I emceed this little award show as Chop Top, my character from Chainsaw 2, and I actually had a makeup guy make me up as Chop Top, and I did it in character, basically introducing, Universal people to get their little demon awards. And one of the award recipients was Rob Zombie. And I don't know if I would have been there or been as enthusiastic about it had it not been for my older daughter, who was a big fan of Rob and Hellbelly Deluxe. I mean, she was the one that turned me on to it. So that was how I met Rob and got the offer to play Otis in the first place. So, and then when we just did Three from Hell, which is coming out in early 2019, and that was earlier this year, both daughters showed up. And really had a great time on the set. Got to see me do, horrible stuff to people. So that was good.
Always good.
And it just reminds them not to mess with that. So that's, although that they mess with me all the time. So I'm just kind of kidding about that.
There you go. No, that's really cool. And so how was it working with Rob Zombie then? And I think that's really cool that your daughter actually kind of turned you on to him. How was that working with him?
That was great. I mean, Rob has really grown as a filmmaker. I was there at the beginning, I guess. So we shot House of a Thousand Corpses back in 2000, and then we shot Devil's Rejects. I think it was 2004, maybe. And then, of course, Three from Hell just a couple of months ago. And in the meantime, also, I've, been to Rob's house for dinner, and I was in a couple of his music videos. So, I've known Rob now for, these past 18 years. And it's really, he's a very cool guy, very level-headed. He and Sherry are a great couple, and vegan. I think Sherry rescues goats in Connecticut. That's G-O-A-T, not G-H-O-S-T. Goats, with the horns and the cans, the whole thing. And so they're very, they're not, you'd think that, with a last name like Zombie, that they would probably be sacrificing things. But no, they're actually very, stable, steady people. And so it's been fun, actually, to watch Rob obviously grow as a filmmaker, and it's really fun to work with him because he writes his own scripts. So, directing the scripts he's written just, takes that extra step that some directors have to interpret, what the writer has written. With Rob, he already knows it and sees it in his head, so it makes it a lot easier to work with him, and he's just a, fun fun director. He's very collaborative, which is always fun. I mean, some actors have good ideas. They get into the scene and they see things maybe that weren't envisioned when you were sitting there writing the script and imagining the scene.
Right.
So it's good to be able to feel free to report those things and make suggestions to Rob, and he either goes for it or he doesn't. But it's the collaborative part of it is what makes it more fun.
Oh, definitely. And, I'm an actor as well, and it's so true that having a great director is such an important part of acting and the film and everything, because without a good director, it's really hard to rely on someone, and they're the ones behind the camera, so it's a very important thing. So that's awesome that he's a great one, and you guys were able to work together so well for so many years.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's really cool that you also do music. What type of music do you do?
Well, a long time ago, like 1990, I was doing a play in L.A. Basically, it was called Timothy and Charlie. It was about a night based on a factual night, I guess back in 1974, when Timothy Leary and Charles Manson were side by side in San Quentin prison. They had not adjoining, but cells one next to the other. And I played Timothy Leary in that play, and Buckethead was the friend of the actor who played Charles Manson. And I had never heard of Buckethead, but he apparently was a big Chop Top fan from Chainsaw 2. Yeah. And so and Buckethead, I met him after the show, and he asked if I wanted to come down to his studio in Santa Monica, part of Los Angeles, and go off on some of his riffs. And I said sure. So I brought my bongos and a cup of McDonald's coffee and went down to his place and really got along with him. He's a crazy, weird guy, probably one of the best guitar players on the planet. And we really got along, and so we started making music together. And I was he flew me to New York, and I did an album. I was on a couple of songs on an album of his called Giant Robots. And we started jamming together and called ourselves Corn Bugs. And we did that for probably about 10 years. So, wow. So I think 4 or 5 CDs. I think they're on iTunes, etc. Corn Bugs. And it's basically Buckethead and Chop Top. And really had a lot of fun jamming with the Bucket Man. Then I got together with a guy named Ronnie Sharon, and Ronnie's twin brother Gil is actually Marilyn Manson's drummer. Oh, wow. And Ronnie has a band called Stolen Babies, and Ronnie and I got together and cranked out an album called Spider Mountain. That's the name of our group, and the album is called No Way Down. And then finally, recently, in the last couple of years, I got together with Phil Anselmo of Pantera, etc. And Phil and I cranked out an EP called Bill and Phil Songs of Darkness and Despair, which is available, I guess, on Phil's label Housecore Records.
Wow, what a cool thing. I mean, how much fun I bet that would be, and unique and fun, and what an awesome thing that you got into, for sure.
Well, that's, because I've always, I take singing lessons every week and have for, many, many years here in L.A., and that's what certainly helped me land the part of Luigi Largo in Repo, the Genetic Opera. And then in the follow-up movie was called The Devil's Carnival. And it's funny, in terms of Corey, Clown, Sean, was my trailer mate doing The Devil's Carnival. Mm. So it was great to have Clown from Slipknot, and so we, bonded and got along well, and it was really cool to, be in The Devil's Carnival 1 and 2. So, if I need to sing, I can do it.
Well, there you go. So man of many, many talents. An actor, a singer, a dog sitter. I mean, just everything.
Yeah, I know. It makes for a busy life.
I bet, but a great life, I'm sure. And I also, like I said too, you had just done so many different films in your life, and just so many incredible, iconic films, and everyone just truly loves you. Do you have a favorite film that either you worked on or you just love to watch, or like what's your favorite film that you've actually done?
Well, that's kind of like saying which is your favorite child,
Right.
if you have more than one. And, all parents have a favorite child,
Right.
but they probably shouldn't say that to the other children. But I really I always go back to Chainsaw 2.
Yeah.
It was really when it really felt like winning the lottery back then, because I got the part of Chop Top based on, I did a couple of years before we shot that movie, which we shot it in 1986, and I think it's probably 1984. I was working on a ranch one summer. I was living in New York City, working on a dude ranch in Wyoming, and I was working next to a kid who liked to drink a lot of bug juice and eat Frosted Flakes and fudgesicles. So he would go into, and under the hot sun doing physical labor, he would go into what I called sugar deliriums. And he would just start, singing snippets of songs, radio commercials, jingles, just doing these voices and just being like a psycho.
Right.
And I would pretty much turn a deaf ear to him as I did my work next to him. But one day we were just chopping wood or digging a hole, and he was blathering away, and all of a sudden he just out of his blather he said, "Texas Chainsaw Manicure," and then he went back and Captain Crunch, or whatever he was doing. But I heard that, like, Texas Chainsaw Manicure. And in that moment, there was like a little bolt of lightning, and I saw a beauty parlor. I saw, a woman going in to get her hair done, and I saw Leatherface coming out of the back of the shop with a smoking chainsaw to give her a manicure.
Yeah.
And so I went back to the bunkhouse, where all good cowboys live, and wrote out about a 5-minute scenario called the Texas Chainsaw Manicure. And I came back to New York where I was living, and I, scratched up some cash, and we rented a beauty parlor on Staten Island and got camera and, got some big bouncer from one of the hot nightclubs to put on the Leatherface mask and carry a chainsaw, and we shot the Texas Chainsaw Manicure. And I gave myself, since I wrote it and produced it, I gave myself a cameo, 20 seconds, as one of the characters from the original Chainsaw, the hitchhiker. And I'm, my wife goes in, she gets her hair done, she, asks for a manicure. Leatherface comes out with a smoking saw, starts sawing her fingers as she's sitting under the dryer. She's freaking out, and she passes out as she's sawing on her hands. And the beautician brings her back, pats her on the cheek and kind of says, "Are you okay?" And she comes out of her faint, and she's like, no. And she looks down at her fingers, and she's got a perfect manicure.
Oh, there you
and
go.
So she's very happy. So she goes out to the truck where I am waiting for her, and she shows me her manicure, and she goes, "Look, honey, I got the best manicure ever." And I look up, and I've got a big wine mark on my cheek. I'm looking like Ed Neal from The Hitchhiker from Chainsaw, the original Chainsaw. And I look up and I go, "Hey, that's great, honey. We should celebrate with some head cheese." And and I actually had a chunk of head cheese. And anyway, that was all on this little 5-minute film. And I used to work for I was a freelance writer in New York before I became a professional actor. And I was sent out to Los Angeles on a junket, again, back in '84, to cover the making of 2010, The Space Odyssey sequel, and from the omni-science, point of view. And when I was out there, I had dinner with an old buddy buddy of mine who with whom I had gone to high school, and my buddy had and his writing partner had just written Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a really cool movie, and so he was a hot writer at the time, and I, brought a copy of the Chainsaw Manicure to dinner with my friend and his wife, and showed him the Manicure after dinner, and my friend said, "Oh my God, man, this is great. My partner and I have an office across the hall from Tobe Hooper, who was the director of the Chainsaw Massacre. And why don't you leave me this VHS tape, and I'll walk it into his office tomorrow and show it to him." So I said, "Great, that'd be awesome." So he did. Toby watched it. Toby loved it. My friend also gave me Toby's home number, told me to call him in about a week, so I did that. And talked to Toby and identified myself as the guy that made the Chainsaw Manicure. And Toby said, "Hey, that's great, Bill. I love the Manicure." He said, "Now, who played the hitchhiker?" And I said, "Well, that was me." And he said, "Well, if I ever do a sequel, I'll keep you in mind."
Wow.
So 2 years went by. I never heard anything. I never thought a second thought about it. And phone rang one night. It was the screenwriter of Chainsaw 2. He wanted to send me a copy of the script. He did. I took a look at the character Chop Top. And the next call I got was from the Canon Films legal department asking if I had an agent or if I wanted to negotiate my own contract. So I had met an agent at a Christmas party a couple months earlier and turned it over to her, and she called him back, and they were serious. They wanted to hire me as Chop Top. And so I never did audition or anything. I just gave me the part based on that little 20-second cameo a couple years earlier. And that was the beginning of this amazing career, which is now, I think that was about 32 years ago, if my math is right.
Wow.
And, I'm still cranking along, so it was pretty good. So I'm very grateful to that crazy kid. His name was John Wright.
John Wright.
Wright, who babbled the Chainsaw Manicure many years earlier. And I think his parents, I think he might still be living in Geneseo, Illinois. So, John, if you're listening, thanks again, man.
Wow, what a cool story. That's really phenomenal. I mean, it's so cool learning how people got into this business and stuff, because it is such a tough business. But, I mean, you did it with just having fun, and you made this whole incredible career off of it.
Yeah, because I think, once I had kind of broken the ice with Chop Top, somebody, I think it was the writer's agent, said, "Hey, you're good at this. You ought to come out to Los Angeles and pursue an acting career." So that's all I needed. I was that goofy and cuckoo, and I said, "Yeah, great idea." I mean, as if being a freelance writer in New York wasn't hard enough. I packed up my pregnant girlfriend, and we headed west from New York City to Los Angeles. And, Chainsaw 2 did just fine, and then from Chainsaw 2, the special effects makeup person on Chainsaw 2 was the king of splatter himself, Tom Savini. And Tom, after Chainsaw 2, got the opportunity to direct the color remake of George Romero's classic Night of the Living Dead.
Wow.
And Tom wanted me to play Johnny, which is a cameo, but a noteworthy one, where at the beginning of the movie, my sister Barbara and I are in the cemetery. We're visiting our mother's grave, and I'm goofing on her. And that's when I say, "They're coming to get you, Barbara." And that was a classic line, originally uttered by Russ Streiner, who the original Johnny. So I did that for Tom Savini, who did a great job directing that movie. And, that kind of just got me going with, the horror community, I guess you'd call it. And I've done other kinds of movies. I did a Clint Eastwood movie called Pink Cadillac. I did a Disney movie called White Fang with a young Ethan Hawke.
Oh, wow.
So, I do all kinds of stuff. I even did Days of Our Lives, that TV soap opera,
Right.
as a nerd coroner called Joel with thick glasses and a funny nerd accent.
That's.
So I get around.
Oh, yeah. I had to ask, this Texas Chainsaw Manicure, it just sounds absolutely hysterical. Did you ever put it on YouTube or anything for people to watch?
I never did because I was frightened because I never got clearance. We used little snippets of Clifton Chenier and Kinky Friedman, maybe one other song, I think. And I was just, I didn't really know about, how to get clearance for them. So somehow that kept me from ever putting it up. But I've got it. It's like gathering dust in my closet shelf.
Well, I think they'd be okay with you putting it out there because I think people would absolutely love to see that. That just sounds awesome, and it started your whole career basically.
It really did. It was that moment where I woke up. I got to Staten Island from Manhattan, and I just spent the whole day, working on the Manicure. I went into a lot of debt for me just to try to do post-production on it. I took it around. I tried to sell it to Saturday Night Live. They didn't want it. There was another kind of a competitive comedy show called Fridays back then on ABC, and they didn't want it because it was made with videotape, not film, and so nobody really wanted it. So I brought it along as because I loved it, and I'm just so grateful to my buddy Peter. His name is Peter Seaman, believe it or not, and I was so grateful to him for liking it first of all, and then suggesting that he just happened to have this office across from Toby Hooper, and suggesting that he walk it into Toby, and he gave me Toby's number, which apparently he wasn't supposed to have. All of those things. There were so many little chances along the way where that could certainly as easily have not have happened.
Yeah.
And so I really look at that as kind of that magic. It was like the magic key that kind of opened up this amazing career.
Oh, definitely. And what a career you have, and just like you said, keep on going, and so many things still in production and stuff. I mean, you deserve it completely because you're so incredibly talented, and it's a rare thing for sure. But you should be proud.
Well, I'm just a happy guy doing what I like to do. I think that's really what it comes down to. And I think, when you do what you like to do, that fires up your imagination, gives you more energy. I think that's the key to it.
Yeah. And I had to say, I know you have such an incredible fan base and everything, and I think it's such a cool thing to be able to get to know the people a little more. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, just quick questions just to get to know you a little bit more. Does that sound good with you?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So if you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I really, I think I'd probably have dinner with my dad. He's no longer with us. He actually turned 99. He would have turned 99 on October 21st.
Oh, wow.
Because he died before I could really tap into his parenting skills and his adult advice.
Yeah.
So I think I would probably want to have dinner with him and just compare notes.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool. Very cool. And what is one thing nobody knows about you?
Well, I prefer paper over plastic. I prefer crunchy peanut butter to creamy peanut butter.
Oh.
I'm left-handed.
Oh.
I'm a Scorpio. And I like polka music.
Polka music. Well, those are a few things. That's very cool. And the left-handed thing means you're very creative, and there you go. If you could remake a film and you were the star and you could choose anyone to be your co-star, what film would you remake and who would your co-star be?
Well, I would remake The Brain That Wouldn't Die. And my co-star would be Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah. I would see that movie for sure. And because you're such a huge horror icon and you scare so many people, what actually scares you?
Well, lately it's politics.
Yeah. That's true.
And, just the regular stuff, politics, pollution, things like that, because I have children that I want to have, a happy life.
Right.
And, it just looks like some of those things are going to make it more difficult.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a very sad thing, but very true. Well, thank
and
you.
And also, like spooky supernatural stuff does scare me.
Do ghosts and stuff scare you?
Yeah, like weird demons and things like that. I haven't really, encountered any, but, just kind of, it's still a little scary to go down to a dark basement.
Yes, definitely. No one likes the dark. And if you do, that's a little scary itself. Well, thank you so much, Bill, for being on this show. It was truly an honor. You're just such an incredible guy. And what an amazing career. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, I hope everybody has a happy Halloween. Just check your candy for needles and bugs.
Right.
And please come out in early 2019 and support Three from Hell.
Yes.
The long-awaited Rob Zombie sequel to The Devil's Rejects.
Oh yeah, and where can people follow you and keep up to date with you and everything you're doing?
Well, my Twitter and I think Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook are all at Chop Mosley. So ChopTopMosley.
Love it.
And I have a website which is called Chop Tops BBQ. So ChopTopsBBQ.com.
What a cool thing. I love it. How unique. Just like you.
Yes.
Yes, I just had to tell you, a lot of people are messaging in and saying that please put the Texas Chainsaw Manicure on the internet. We have a lot of people messaging us this right now. So I think it's something you have to figure out because we just have a ton of people talking about it.
All right. Well, I'll have to figure out how to upload it. I have some old equipment, but I may well do that because, it's... I think it would be a real treat for the fans because it's cool too.
Definitely.
Not just it's not just shaky. It's like it's good.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Bill.
If Chenier wants to come after me and Kinky Friedman, then we'll work something out.
Yes. Well, thank you really so much, Bill. And if you ever come to Vegas, we'd love to have you actually in studio and everything. I think it'd be great.
That sounds good. I was just there actually a couple weeks ago. I was at the Big Bang Toy and Collectible Shop.
Right. Yes. We saw that. We were busy doing something. But I really wanted to go out there and meet you. I was very excited, but fortunately,
yeah, it was very cool. And we, because we were there for a couple of days. Me and good old Captain Spaulding, Sid Haig, and the first night we went on a tour of Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum.
Oh, that's scary.
Which was a lot of fun. Zach's a great guy.
Yeah.
And then the next night, that was a Friday night. And the Saturday night, I have a buddy named Zeke Zabrowski who is the stage manager for Penn and Teller.
Oh wow.
Over at the Rio Hotel Rio, and so we got a wonderful, got some nice seats and saw the Penn and Teller show.
How fun.
And then went backstage and met Penn and Teller.
There you go. They're great guys. So
I've always loved Vegas, and believe me, the next time I'm there, I'll definitely I'll let you know before I come.
I'm very excited. I will take your word for it.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bill. I hope you have an incredible rest of your day.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Well, that was the one and only Bill Moseley. What a cool guy. It's so genuine and fun, and I believe him when he said he'll come back on in person. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please go keep up to date with him. Follow all his social media and Chop Top BBQ page, and what a cool thing. So thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, never give up, always believe, and you'll achieve. Thank you, and God bless. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corey Taylor Talks, live from Las Vegas, the #1 teen talk show. I am very excited for my guest today. He is just such an awesome guy, and he has so many things coming up. I have the one and only Mr. George Cameron Romero with us today. So, hi, George. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am very good, and like I said, I just think you're awesome, and all your films you have, and I saw your IMDb too. You have just a bazillion more coming, and I think you're just incredible. So I'm very excited to have you on.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here talking to you.
Yes. So why don't we get right into it? People absolutely they love you and everything, and I think a lot of people supported you, especially because of your father. But you have such a incredible career that stands on its own, and you just really, I think what I think is so respectful for you is that you really built your way to the top, and you didn't just use your father's name. You have built this whole career yourself, and you started from the bottom and you worked your way up, and you were just doing some incredible things and getting such amazing recognition that you completely deserve. So how is it being a director and producer and everything? How was it starting from the beginning to now, because you just have a phenomenal career?
Well, thank you very much. It means a lot to me. You have such nice things to say. I think I need to get a copy of this recording and play it in a meeting. It's been an interesting road, you know. I did kind of do it all on my own. I mean, granted, you know, I do come from my dad, so I think that helped maybe open some doors when I was younger, but I think I've always believed that it's what you do once you get through the door that keeps you in the room as opposed to who you are. And, you know, it's been an interesting trip, and I wouldn't trade a minute of it for the world. You know, in terms of what you're asking, you know, in terms of like how's it been? It's been one of the luckiest lives anybody could live. You know, I had two creative parents, and I was pretty much doomed to a life of, you know, being a creative. And you know, with my father being who he was, it was hard to not be completely inspired by him and want to go out and kind of climb the same mountain. I think is probably the best way to put it. And I did. Yes. And it's been a tough road, but it's been fun as hell.
Yeah, and you know, I think what I really do respect about you is, yes, like you said, you're a father, and I'm sure there was some perks. I'm sure people always think that's so cool that he was your father, but I think in some ways that also makes it a little tougher, because people are like, oh, he just did it because of his dad, or oh, his father's this, so he just is going to expect everything. But no, you worked your way to the top, and you have just done some phenomenal things, and I really think you should be very proud of that, for sure.
Thank you very much. I did, you know, and people are going to think what they're going to think. You know, I think the hardest part is fans, you know, just trying to win over their respect. You know, I'm grateful for everybody who found me because of my father, and I'm grateful for everybody who found me, maybe didn't find me because of my father.
Yeah.
But, you know, I work really hard to make sure that everything I do is something that the fans will respect.
Yes.
And something that I'll respect.
Yeah, and you have some incredible films out there, and like I said, just so much more in the works. What I can't even imagine some of the stories you have, and I saw too some of the graphic things of one of your films too. Is you had a full 10-minute decapitation in your film and everything that actually made someone throw up. So I can't even imagine some of the stories you have. But out of everything you've done, what's probably the coolest story you have from being on set?
Well, actually, that's probably one of my favorites that you just brought up, to be perfectly honest. We ended up cutting the scene down to whatever made the MPAA happy at the time, I think. But it was a lot of fun. Nothing was working. There was no heat, no hot running water, and all the effects were just not firing the way they were supposed to. And so we had this scene where our killer's supposed to cut this girl's head off quickly, and because everything was frozen and nothing was moving or cutting right, it ended up taking them about 10 minutes to cut through it. And we just kept pumping blood and switching everything over at the last second. And it just looked so graphic that we had a guy working on the camera crew who he was living in the monitor at the time watching everything. And I looked over at him at one point, and he was just turning whiter and whiter and paler and paler, and finally he just, as soon as I yelled cut, he just let it all go. That was probably one of my favorite stories.
Definitely. Well, I think that shows how talented you guys were. And, I think, too, film, I don't even think people realize how tough it is. And no matter what your budget is or anything, it's a very tough thing, and nothing works right when you're trying to get the shot. So I think the struggle might have even helped you guys, and you guys pushed through and made someone throw up, which is always a plus.
I think that happens a lot. I think some of the greatest moments in film history probably were born from mistakes or something not working out the way it should. And there comes a point where you just kind of have to say, this is as good as we're going to get, and let's pray to the film gods and their cameras and see what happens. And, more times than not, it's kind of like when you study for a test and you think you're going to fail it, and then you go in and you ace it. It's kind of the same thing, because you get everybody freaking out when one thing goes wrong, but everybody's so prepared for it that it just kind of, when there's an immediate need for a solution, everybody drops the stress and figures it out, and we make it work.
Yeah. And I think, it seems to be mostly that your heart's kind of in horror. What made you choose horror and go that route? And do you like to go other places, or is horror kind of your main focus?
I've been moving more away from the gore stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I'll always love it. And it was a great place to learn, and a great place to start, and a great place to come up. And, I've been a horror fan my whole life, aside from the obvious reasons. And, there's just there's such a place for it in my heart. I don't think I'll ever, leave it. But I am kind of looking at a different aspect of it now that I think is sort of underserved in the horror realm right now. And I'm moving toward more of a psychological type horror, that I think was also inspired by my father.
Yeah.
Excuse me. People ask me all the time what I think was the scariest thing about his creatures. And for me it was, and I think for a lot of other people, it was the fact that it could be anybody.
Yeah.
It could be your kid, your neighbor, your mailman. It could be anybody that you knew. And there's something deeply psychologically unsettling about that. And that's kind of what I've latched on to, is going after sort of that kind of unsettling emotion with all of my work.
Yeah.
So something familiar and terrifying. And that's sort of the focus of a lot of the things that I'm working on now.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it, is even though maybe it's not realistic, it's more like you could see that happening, and it could be anybody, and I think that is a good way to put it, and it does make it puts you way more on the edge of your seat all the time, which is great.
Yeah, that's my goal, is, I'd like to mess with people's minds a little bit more than, we all love all the blood and guts, and it's a lot of fun, but I'd like to do something truly upsetting.
Yes, I like it. And I'm assuming you probably grew up on set and everything. Did you go with your dad to his sets a lot, or were you kind of kept at home with it because he didn't want you to be around all that?
No, I was lucky enough to get to go. more times than I probably should have. And it was a wonderful experience. I mean, I think that's what, I went to the set of a film he did called Night Riders once, and that was the one that I really think that experience is what solidified it in my mind that this was a life I wanted to pursue. It was just such an incredibly exhilarating experience to watch him get out of the car and get hammered with like 20 or 30 rapid fire questions from different people, and to just calmly have all the answers. It was amazing. I'd never seen anybody have such a clear vision of a creative, intangible thought in my life. And I think that moment was truly inspiring to me for the rest of my life. No,
definitely. And I think that's really such a cool thing, and that you did want to do it, because I got to tell you, film is a very hard business, and no matter what you take on, it's a very difficult business to get into. So I think that's cool that actually inspired you more than scared you away, because it's very tough. So I think that's awesome that you fell in love with it.
Yeah, well, you can ask anybody who knows me. The best way to get me to do something is to tell me I can't do it. So.
Well, there you go. And then you prove them wrong every time, I'm sure.
Well, not every time, but I sure try.
I think you got it. And so, out of all your films that you've done, do you have like a favorite one that's really close to you or very special to you?
I get asked this question a lot, and I think the answer that I've pretty much landed on is that they all kind of hold a special place, once they're done, right? They're never finished, but you got to call them done. It's kind of like construction or anything like that, It's never finished in or a book or a poem or a song. It's never finished, truly finished in the eyes of the person creating it. But at some point, they have to call it done and put it out into the world. Kind of like a kid. So, it's kind of hard to pick a favorite, because everything takes so much of you to get it from an idea to push it out into the world, that no matter if you have a good experience, if you have a bad experience, at the end of the day, all of those experiences still made what you set out to create. So truly can't dislike or like any of them more than another. They're all things that you put everything you had into. And it doesn't do yourself any justice. And it certainly doesn't do yourself any good service to pick favorites or live in negativity.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good answer, and I'm sure you learn so many different things from each film you do, and they just continuously get better and better because you just learn so much from it. So I think that's a very awesome answer and truthful.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes. And I think people really love you, and you have such a great fan base, and like I said, it's because you're so talented and have so many awesome things. And like I said, more films coming up. What is next? What films do you have coming up? What can people be expecting and waiting for? Because I'm sure everyone's just waiting for your next thing.
Well, I've been very close to making an announcement about just that for the better part of this year, actually. I'm getting very close to beginning production on a film I'm doing called Rise, which is sort of my prologue to my father's early work and sort of my own personal love letter to him as an artist and to everything he created. It's probably the dearest project to my heart I've ever written. And it started as just a film that I wrote in 2010 that I showed to my father, and he loved it. And it was always something I hoped he and I would do together. So now that's not going to happen. It's important to me to get it done and get it done the right way. So I'm very close to that. And then my other big focus right now is actually an underwater thriller, an underwater sort of horror thriller film that I wrote a few years back. That is the most claustrophobic thing I could have ever thought to write. which is a big fear of mine. So I'm really excited to make it. And with a little bit of luck, it looks like we're going to be pulling the trigger to shoot it for virtual reality as well.
Oh, wow.
So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, that sounds
and
awesome.
that film is called, that film is called Sunken. And if you're interested, you can check them all out on my website. I've got literally all the projects, but those are the two that are sort of full steam ahead for me right now.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about both of them.
No, that's very cool, and I can't even imagine how difficult it is going to be shooting underwater, but I'm sure very rewarding because that'll be such a unique thing and very rarely done.
Oh, it's going to be terrifying. I'm going to be terrified every day at work, and I'm okay with that.
Yes, because it'll all be worth it in the end, definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also, I do have to say, even though your father can't be with you today, I'm sure he'll be with you when you're filming Rise, because that sounds like such an awesome thing, and if he loved it, then I'm sure he'll be with you there, even though not physically, I'm sure he will be with you. I'm sure, I can't even imagine any other way. I think he'll definitely be very proud of you.
I hope so, and I'm sure that everybody on the cast and crew will help invoke him as one of the film guys.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he's just so proud of everything you've done, and even while he was here, everything you've accomplished, and you've just gone so much up and farther, and you have so many things coming your way, and really, I think it's so cool, and you're very talented.
Well, thank you very much. That means the world to me, actually.
Yeah. And I had to ask you, people always want to get to know celebrities a little better, and your fans want to know you a little more personally. So I'm going to ask you a few questions just to get to know you a little better. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right. So if you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh, jeez. It should be like these. I don't even know. You should have given me a heads up about some of these.
That's what it makes it puts you on the spot.
Probably, I'd probably have to say Hemingway. He's been a massive influence on my entire life as a creative. More than just a fan of his work. He was something else, and I have to say that he's been a major voice in my head for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, very cool. What is one thing that nobody knows about you?
I pass the time between projects by making furniture to stay sane.
Oh, wow. That is interesting. Is that I can't even imagine how much work that is. Is that another little passion you have?
Yeah, it's fun. My grandfather on my mother's side of the family was a master craftsman and
Wow.
taught me all this stuff when I was young, so I stay sane by designing and building furniture.
I could use you to decorate my house. What a cool thing! That is very interesting. I'm sure people are very amused by that. That's very cool. Good for you. And a lot of work. I can't even imagine how much work that is, but very cool.
It's fun. I'm actually at the lumber yard right now, looking at picking up some lumber to make some furniture.
Oh wow! Awesome. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
Let's see. There's two versions of this answer, I guess. I guess the first one would be my father telling me to cut wide. He was talking about editing a film, of course, but it translates very well to life. As long as you cut wide, you can always cut more out. But if you cut too short too soon, you can never put the pieces back in that you threw away.
Right.
And then my mom used to tell me all the time when I'd go outside and play when I was a little kid. She used to say, "Don't get run over." And she would laugh about it. But then as I got older, she kept saying it. And one day I said, I don't think there's any chance of me getting run over. And she said, "I don't mean by a car." And then that made me think for a while. So I think those are probably the two best pieces of advice I ever got.
Yeah, there you go. I think those are pretty good, darn good advices you got there. If you could remake a film, what film would you remake and who would star in it?
Let's see here. I think if I had the choice to remake any film, I would probably want to take a look at Night Riders, my father's Night Riders.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. Number one, it was my first real set experience with him that I remember. Number two, I think it's a great story and a great film. And number three, I'd love a chance to kind of do him right again by doing that. In terms of who would star in it, I have no idea. Sometimes that's not even up to us anymore.
Well, as long as you remake, and maybe I could star in it. Just saying, putting it out.
Well, come on out. We'll find a spot.
There you go. And because you are such a horror icon and so big in the horror film community, what actually scares you?
You mean in terms of like films?
Anything.
In general?
Yeah, kind of just in general. What actually scares you? What gets you? I'm sure not a lot.
Drowning, absolutely.
Drowning.
That's why I am making this underwater thing. That's why I wrote it. It's one of my biggest fears. That and dying like a stupid death. Like tripping and falling and landing on like a nail or something.
I gotta say, I don't think this underwater movie is the best idea. but that's very cool. You're facing your fears, and that's always an important thing, right?
Absolutely. Nothing great ever happened inside a comfort zone.
That's
right?
true. Well, I'm very excited about those films coming up, and truly, thank you so much for being on. Where can people follow you and keep up to date with you? Because I can't even imagine how much more you have coming up and all your ideas.
Well, thank you very much again. Thanks for having me on. The best place to look for everything is RomeroPictures.com. It's my production company's primary website. You can find all the social links and everything on there. But we do a pretty good job of keeping Romero Pictures up to date, and we link to everything that people might want to know from there as well.
Yeah. Well, truly, thank you so much, George, for being on. You're such an awesome guy, and I really thank you so much. And if you ever come to Vegas, we'd love to have you in studio, too.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time and the interest.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, and that was the one and only Mr. George Cameron Romero. What a cool guy, so down to earth, and I just can't wait to see everything he has coming up. So thank you guys so much for watching. Have a happy Halloween, and remember, never give up, always believe, and you'll achieve. Thank you, and God bless. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corey Taylor Talks, live from Las Vegas, the #1 teen talk show. I am very excited about my guest today. He is absolutely terrifying. He's actually a great guy underneath, but he has been scaring people for years and years now. He's some of the most iconic horror characters ever. So I have the one and only Mr. Kane Hodder with me. So hi, Kane, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am excellent, and like I said, I'm very excited to have you on because you have just had quite the career and do so much stuff, and like you're so cool, and I mean it's insane all the things that you do, but it's awesome. So I'm very excited to have you on.
Well, I'm happy to be on. I've heard good things about the show, so just happy to be here.
Oh, well, thank you very much. So let's get right into it. First off, like I said, you played so many truly iconic horror figures. I think the one you're most known for is Jason from Friday the 13th, which, of course, is just, like, insane because he is truly one of the biggest horror people ever. So how is it being known for that, and how is it to play such iconic roles?
Well, I mean, as you know, I started in the film business as a stuntman.
Right.
So I never thought I would get much of any kind of recognition at all, and that wasn't why I went into the business. I just loved the idea of getting paid to do things that I used to do to entertain my friends. So I thought this is a better way to use my skills at doing crazy things, be a stuntman. So that's what I decided to do. So, you know, when I was in the position to play Jason the first time, I felt it was an honor, and I always will feel that, because, you know, the character had been around for years before I ever stepped into the position of playing the character. So I had already seen all the movies previous to the one that I started in, and so I was already a fan of the character. And you can imagine being a fan of something, just imagine how it felt to suddenly be that character.
Yeah.
You know, it was an incredible feeling, and I thought it's a big honor, and I have to do whatever I can to do my best and do this character justice. So that's what I did, and fortunately people responded to it and kept me going.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say, I really think you were just so incredible. And I think it's kind of important that you were a fan, because then you were able to bring justice to the character and stuff. And I'm sure it's a scary thing to be put in such a role. But, I mean, you did amazing. And we're casting more and everything, and everyone did love you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty good at being scary. So I would suggest don't piss me off this evening.
Uh-oh. I heard you loud and clear there.
I'm not that far from Vegas, you know.
Right, you're in Sparks, correct?
Oh no, that's where I lived as a kid. I'm in L.A.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, you're not too far. That's a little scary. Yeah, next time in LA, I'll be watching over my shoulder the whole time.
Well, I come to Vegas a lot to play poker too. So
Oh, awesome!
I play in the World Series and stuff, so that's a lot of fun.
Yes, and when you come back, you should totally be on the show too. When you come back here.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So now let's talk about everything else you've done. Because, I mean, you truly have just, like I said, such an incredible career. And you've done so many things. First of all, I can't even imagine what it's like being a stunts person, because that seems like just terrifying. And I'm sure it's cool, but I'm sure it's also just super scary and a lot of hard work that I can't even imagine how much work goes into it. And you play some really daunting parts that require a lot of work. So how do you get prepared for something like that? And you play all these different roles and everything. What's it like getting into character and doing all that and working with the stunts?
Well, you know, with most of the characters I play in the horror films, there's a tremendous amount of prosthetic makeup that I have to wear.
Mm.
So you start your shooting day with as long as 3.5 hours of having things glued on your head and on your face and putting lenses in and dentures and all that stuff. And that takes 3.5 hours before you ever start to shoot.
Wow.
So by the time you are ready to shoot, you're pretty well ready to show some rage, because it's been pretty uncomfortable for those hours. So for me, it's a good release of all the pent-up tension that I've been going through. And, you know, with the stunts, I always loved the fact that my characters very often were involved in the stunts.
Right.
No, not just creating the stunts, but being like in Part 7, the first Friday the 13th I had to do all kinds of different stunts, and including a big fire stunt where I was on fire, and you probably already know that I almost died from doing a fire stunt my first year of doing stunts.
Right.
So that was not a good way to start a career, almost dying doing something in your first. I was 6 months into my career.
Wow.
And so I wasn't sure I'd ever do fire again, but of course I did, and ended up kind of specializing in fire stunts. But so it's a lot more, and the acting itself when you're wearing prosthetics is a lot harder than people think. A lot of people think, well, you're wearing all this on your face. How much acting do you do? And it's like, well, actually a lot more because of that
Right.
exact reason. With the prosthetics, you have to do things differently to make emotions read. Since you're not using your voice,
Yeah.
you are using your movements and your facial expressions with the makeup. So you have to get things across with just that. And it's a lot more challenging than most people think.
Oh, like I said, I really couldn't even imagine. It just seems like so much work. But honestly, I think that's why you're able to do so many films and everything, is because you really do put your heart and soul into it, and you're incredibly talented. And I think that's what makes you stand out from so many people.
Well, thank you. And I just, the hardest thing, I think, when you play a character like Jason or Victor Crowley from Hatchet or whatever, is to make it look believable. Because so many people, and I'd say 90% of people that work in prosthetics tend to overact because they think they have to do that to get the point across. And then it takes you, as a viewer, it takes you out of the scene, because now you think, oh, that's this guy in makeup acting. You need to make it look.
Oh.
Tell this story. A lot of times at conventions, people will say, I always loved how you walked as Jason. Can you do the Jason walk? And I'll say, well, yes, I can, because that's kind of just how I walk. So that's why it didn't look like I was acting, because I really wasn't. So.
Well, I think that's cool. But
Right.
but that's really cool. But no, you've done so many things, and really pulled off every single one of them, which is a really big feat.
Right.
And I have to say, you have worked on so many different films. Obviously, Friday the 13th, Death House, Seven, Hatchet, like you said, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. I mean, just so many different ones. I can't even truly name all of them. There's just tons and tons. Devil's Rejects, Gone in 60 Seconds, Spawn, Hills Have Eyes too. I mean, just on and on and on. Out of all of them, do you have a favorite movie set that you worked on? Is there one that really stood out to you, or like one that was just thought was so cool, or what was your favorite set to work on with all of them?
Well, I mean, the horror ones where I'm the main character are always amazing, because this is basically kind of my film, because I'm playing the main guy.
Right.
So it's a great feeling to have all these other horror actors that come in and support my character. And that's what we do for each other. If someone else is playing a character, we'll go in and be a victim for that character, help each other out. But so there's a difference between playing the main character, but some of the most fun I've also had on films is when I'm just one of the stunt guys and working with a really high-profile actor in close quarters with them. Because, if you're an actor doing a scene with a famous actor in a movie, that's one thing. But when you're a stunt guy, the actors are always much more open and comfortable, I guess I would say, because we're just stunt people and we're trying to help them look good. So a big actor like a Will Smith or a Brad Pitt or something like I've worked with just appreciates the work we do, so they will just hang out with us on the set instead of with other people, because they feel more of a similar personality.
Right.
Because we're not in it for trying to suck up to the actor. We're just doing our job, and and sometimes we have to do fight scenes with those exact actors and stuff. So it's really a lot of fun. You really get to know some of the actors a lot better because you're working in stunts with them.
Oh yeah. No, I bet I that's an interesting way to look at it, and I bet they do open up more. I never really thought of it that way, but that does make complete sense. Yeah. And then I want to talk a little bit about your documentary, To Hell and Back, the Kane Hodder story. I was just reading a little bit about it. What an amazing story you have. Can you tell people a little bit about the documentary?
Well, yeah, it's just basically my life story, pretty much. And a lot of people can identify with a lot of things that happened in my life. Like, I was bullied pretty badly when I was a young kid at elementary school. And, you know, a lot of people deal with that. So to go through that and then to have an injury that almost took my life and took me 6 months to recover from, getting burned, and then at 22 realizing that for the rest of my life I get to live with these scars now that everybody's going to stare at all the time whenever have my shirt off or something. So it's a humbling thing to realize that you're not such a infallible person, because sometimes when you do stunts, you do so many things, so many dangerous things successfully. Sometimes you get like a indestructible feeling to you. Nothing can go wrong, and then when it does, it's pretty humbling and hard to deal with. So I had the suicidal tendencies for a while because of what I was going through and everything, thinking, is this really worth it? So people identify with that, with the bullying, and then of course all the fun stuff with the career. So it's and I grew up in the South Pacific. All of my junior high and high school was in the Marshall Islands. So I graduated high school from a tiny island. So that in itself is an interesting story because it's not typical.
Right.
So that's basically what the documentary is. It's a kind of a capsule of my life, and it's getting very, very favorable response to it. So I'm happy about that.
No, that's very cool. And like I said, I was just reading up on some of it, and I mean, truly so amazing, your story. And like you said, I think a lot of people can relate to it. Because my show, honestly, one of the whole reasons I started with my show was because of bullying and stuff, and we wanted to deal on the topic. And I think it's just such a horrible problem, and I don't care who you are, how perfect you are, how rich you are, how beautiful you are. I truly think in one way or another, everyone has been bullied in some sort of fashion, and it's just a horrific problem. But I think you're a really good guy to look at and see that you overcame it, and you've overcame so much stuff, and you have just this phenomenal career and have done such cool stuff your whole life. So I think that's a really cool thing.
Well, I appreciate that, and I hope people will take time and take a look at it. I think you'll enjoy it. Some of it's not easy to watch, but
Right.
So that's my life, though. So.
No, but it is amazing. And also, so like you said, too, going back a little bit with your favorite movie and everything, you said you really like playing the leading roles, which of course makes sense. Is there one particular role that you really are always really excited that you got to play that? Or I'm sure all of them are awesome, but is there one particular role that you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I played that?
Well, I mean, obviously, the Friday the 13th, playing Jason was such a huge event in my career. That'll always be number one because it changed everything.
Yeah.
Suddenly people recognized my name and 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 it had never been that way before. When you do stunts, you don't get any kind of recognition for it, and that's not what you go into it for. So it'll always be the number one thing. And once I was replaced as Jason and never given a reason for that being replaced, so that was a low point in my career because I put my heart and soul into a character for 4 films in a row, and then suddenly I was replaced and never told why. So I thought that was, not a very good way to do something. I would never do that to somebody. So, when Adam Green came along and offered me another role, which is Victor Crowley in the Hatchet movies, and we're going to do a few of these, and we want you to play the character. So it kind of resurrected my my serial killer type persona, and with all the makeup and everything. So it was similar to Jason, but even a lot more fun doing the movies even.
Yeah. No, I bet that's awesome, and I'm very sorry to hear that with Friday the 13th. Honestly, that's horrifying what they did to you. So I'm very sorry to hear that because I really think anyone can agree that saw your films. You were truly one of the best Jasons, and I don't think anyone could replace you, honestly.
Well, yeah, I mean, they had 2 guys do it. They did 4, and they haven't asked to do a second one. So the first 6 guys were every first 6 movies was a different guy every time. Then I did 4, and then they did 2 more after that, and that was 2 different guys. So, it's got to say something about it, I guess, right?
Well, I think you're the best, so, so I don't care what it has to say about that. I think you're the best.
Thank you.
And I really think a lot of people kind of want to know a little bit more about you, and just kind of maybe things that not everyone would know, or maybe we didn't get to cover. So I kind of want to ask you 5 questions just to get to know you a little better. Is that okay?
Okay, that's fine.
All right. So if you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Wow. That's interesting. Nobody's ever asked me that. That's a
really?
Good question. Wow. I mean, oddly enough, I was always fascinated by a guy that was known in horror a long time ago, and I always kind of idolized him. So I would say if I had the chance to have dinner with anyone, it would be Boris Karloff.
Oh, that'd be pretty awesome. Can't lie, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
What is the best advice you've ever been given?
I would say, when I got burned, I thought maybe this wasn't the right career for me. I mean, here it is, 6 months into my professional stunt career, and I almost die.
Right.
So maybe I made the wrong choice. And I was sitting in the burn unit, getting better finally, and seeing the end coming so that I would get out fairly soon, but I still wasn't sure what I should do. And then somebody, what most of us do that have been burned, we go back and visit people that are in burn units currently, because we know how it feels.
Right.
When you're in a burn unit, you don't want to listen to anybody tell you what to expect unless they have burn scars on them. Then if they do, in your mind, you'll think, okay, this person knows, so I'm really going to listen to what they have to say. A guy that I never even knew his name said that he didn't think I should give up because of one accident and go back into it. And so I guess, that helped me decide to continue my stunt career, because if I hadn't, then who knows where I'd be now.
Yeah, no, that's life-changing for sure. Especially, I can't even imagine the trauma and I mean, just the whole process of getting healed and everything. That had to
Yeah.
be, so that was awesome that he gave you that and that worked, and here you are
Right.
now.
Yeah, I know.
What's one thing that no one knows about you?
Jeez. Are these questions you ask everybody or just me?
Only the special ones.
Um, wow. I have an answer, but I don't want it to seem pompous.
No.
And it's not, I wouldn't say nobody knows it, but the vast majority of people don't know it about me. And it's that I once qualified for membership in the Mensa Society.
Oh
And
my
I don't know
gosh.
if you know what Mensa is. It's the International High IQ Association.
Right.
So I've always, it sounds bizarre, I know, but I've always loved taking IQ tests.
Wow.
It's actually enjoyable. So I did the supervised testing and qualified. I did not join because I wanted to prove it to myself. But that's one thing that people don't know. And now I'm going to sound like an ass for bringing it up. Probably.
No, I think I would never get anywhere near Mensa. That is awesome. No, you should be proud of it. I would be ragging all the time. I wouldn't be hiding that at all.
Right. Well, sometimes the people I work with, if I mention it, they don't even know what it is. So I'm like, okay, forget that.
No, I am very impressed. Very, very, very impressed. I could have used you a lot in high school. If you could remake a film and you would be the star and you could choose your own co-star, what film would you remake and who would your co-star be?
Oh boy. So, I mean, the thing that comes to mind, and oddly enough, the movie is opening tonight, but it's already been remade. But I've always wanted to play Michael Myers in a Halloween film, and it would have been so amazing to play Michael in this film with Jamie Lee Curtis coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, it opens right now, so it's kind of useless to even bring it up. But that's something I had always wished I could do. I always wanted to play Michael because, it's similar in some ways as Jason, but I think I could do a completely different take on it and make him just terrifying because I don't know if you know that I did several scenes as Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 because I was the stunt coordinator, so I doubled R.A. Mihailov in a couple scenes, so I was Leatherface, and I did the one shot as Freddy in Jason Goes to Hell, technically, where Freddy's glove comes out of the ground and grabs the hockey mask.
Oh.
That was my hand wearing the Freddy glove. So
wow.
technically played one shot as Freddy. So the only one I'm missing is Michael.
Well, it can get there. I had to say, I think you would be an incredible Michael Myers. I think it's awesome that they brought back one of the original guys who actually played Michael Myers for this film.
Right,
However,
right.
I always said, like, Michael, I don't know, I always pictured him, like, a lot bigger than he is. You know what I mean? He seems, he's tall, but he just seems more thin and stuff. And Michael's, he's the boogeyman, so I think you would play a perfect Michael Myers, personally.
Yeah, I would love to. And it was so brilliant that they brought Jamie Lee back for this one. It's going to make the movie way more successful, so.
No, I think it's going to be awesome. So I'm sure you're going to see it soon, too.
Oh, yeah.
And then, final question about getting to know you a little more better. So obviously you play all these amazing horror characters and are just in a million different horror things, but what actually scares you?
Oh boy. See, that's. I mean, that's a tough one. Because when you're in stunts, none of the normal things scare you. None of heights and all that stuff. You get used to it doing stunts, and creatures and stuff. I've always loved snakes and tarantulas and stuff like that. So that kind of stuff doesn't
Ooh.
bother me. But if you want a real answer and not some clever, lighthearted thing, I would say the only thing that truly terrifies me is Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Because when you can get to the point where you don't recognize family members that you've been with for 50 years, that is truly terrifying. So it's not a fun answer, not a lighthearted, joking, fun answer, but if you really want a true answer, that's what it would be.
No, I couldn't agree more. I always I don't even like thinking about it because it's just horrifying, and you can't even picture something like that happening. But unfortunately, it's very common.
Right.
So I think that's a true and honest answer as you can get for sure. But well, thank you so much, Kane. It has been just truly an honor talking to you. Where can people find you and follow you and keep up to date with you, and of course watch your documentary as well?
The documentary is available on pretty much all platforms, called To Hell and Back. I've done some new films that are coming out, some comedy things like something called Shed of the Dead. I shot in England, and I think I'm pretty funny in it. Another one called An Accidental Zombie named Ted. That is really getting good response, and I'm attempting humor in that one as well, and I've gotten a good response from the humor. So, so that's good. I did a movie with the Impractical Jokers this summer, so that'll be coming out at some point soon. And just keep an eye out for when I'm in the area doing a convention. I'd love to meet everybody and come out and say hello.
Yes. And I'm sure everyone loves to meet you too, because you have just done so many different things, and truly just an iconic, you're a great person, and just truly an iconic character in everything you do. So that's awesome.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate you having me on, and hope everything continues to go as well as it has for you.
Well, thank you very, very much. I really, it's been an honor. And please, if you do come to Vegas soon, we'd love to have you actually in the studio. I think that'd be awesome.
Yep, you never know. I'll be right behind you one day.
That's right. I had to keep looking over my shoulder now. Yeah, you can play Norman Bates next.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much, Kane. Have a great night.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Well, that was the one and only Mr. Kane Hoddard. What a cool guy. As you guys could tell, just an amazing person. Has overcome so much and is just so strong and incredible and talented. So really an honor having him on. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day, and remember, never give up, always believe, and you'll achieve. Thank you, and God bless.